At Christmas, my mother said, "I always knew you'd be a failure, Sam." My brothers laughed. Then I responded, "At least I didn't have to sleep with a man I hated just to live off his money. By the way, I'm stopping paying your bills. I'm Sam, 29 years old, and I'm the youngest of three brothers. There's Michael, the oldest, 35, married to Sarah with two young kids who never stop yelling. Then there's Steven, 32, who's got a girlfriend, Emily, and is always bragging about how perfect his life is. And then there's me, the odd one out in the family. No girlfriend, no friends, nothing worth talking about, according to them. But I've got a decent job as an electrician. I make enough to live comfortably in my apartment, and I was also paying my mom's bills. Yeah, I'm that fool. My mom, Linda, is 58 and has a personality that makes you want to run for the hills. My dad left us when I was about 4, and she's been bitter about life ever since. She raised us alone for a while, but then she got involved with a guy, Richard, who had money. It wasn't love, I know that now. It was pure convenience. Her plan backfired when he figured out she was only with him for his cash and dumped her. Since then, my mom's lived off complaining and depending on us, especially me. Back to Christmas. It was the usual family gathering at her place. A half-sad tree with lights that barely worked, reheated food from days ago, and a table full of mismatched plates. I was sitting in a corner with cold mashed potatoes I didn't even want to eat, watching my brothers laugh at anything and their partners try to keep up. My mom was at the head of the table, acting like a queen despite having nothing to rule over. Everything was going more or less fine until my mom decided it was time to pick on me. She looked at me with that venomous little smile she always uses and said, "Sam, so what's up this year? No girlfriend, no friends, nothing to share?" Then she let out a chuckle and glanced at Michael and Steven, like she was saying, "Back me up on this." And of course, they didn't disappoint. Michael laughed like it was the joke of the century, and Steven covered his mouth, but the laugh still slipped out. Emily and Sarah smiled, but you could tell they were uneasy. It's not the first time they've said something like this. Ever since I was a kid, I've always been the easy target. Michael has his perfect family, Steven has his girlfriend and his big plans, and me, well, I've got my job and my peace of mind. I've never needed more, or so I thought. But that night, something snapped inside me. Maybe it was my mom's tone, so full of contempt. Maybe it was seeing my brothers laughing like they were better than me. Or maybe it was realizing I've been paying my mom's bills, rent, electricity, water, gas, even the darn internet, for years while they don't lift a finger. Then she let out, "I always knew you'd be a failure, Sam. I could sense it since you were little." So I got mad, took a deep breath, set my fork down on the table. It made a noise that shut them up for a second, and stood up. I looked my mom straight in the eyes and said, "Mom, I always knew you thought that about me, and I don't care what you think. But at least I didn't have to sleep with a man I despised just to get him to pay my way." Total silence. My mom's mouth dropped open, like a fish out of water. Michael and Steven exchanged glances, unsure what to do. My brother's partners froze, and Michael's kids started looking at me like I'd said something awful. But I wasn't done. I went on, "By the way, starting tomorrow, I'm done paying your bills. All of them. The house, the phone, everything. If I'm such a failure, I guess you don't need my money, right?" My mom shot up from her chair, so fast she almost knocked it over, pointing at me like she was about to shoot a laser. "What did you say, Sam?" she screamed, with that voice she uses when she wants everyone to shut up and listen. "How dare you talk to me like that? After everything I've done for you. What have you done for me, Mom?" I shot back, and I swear I don't know where I got the nerve. Because as far back as I can remember, I've been the one paying your bills. Electricity, water, gas, everything. What have you done for me lately, besides telling me I'm a failure? That set her off even more. She took a step toward me, eyes wide, face red. "Ungrateful brat. I gave you life. I raised you alone when your dad left us like dogs. And now you come at me with this, humiliating me in front of everyone." Michael raised a hand, like he was trying to calm things down. "Hey, Sam, chill. Don't talk to Mom like that. We can sort this out without fighting." "Sort what out, Michael?" I said, turning to him. "You don't contribute a dime to the house. You got a wife, kids, a job, but I've never seen you help. Why am I always the one stuck with everything?" Michael frowned and crossed his arms. Because I got responsibilities, Sam. 2 kids don't support themselves. You don't have anyone, so you help more. And that makes me your personal ATM? I snapped. I've got a job, an apartment, a life. I'm not here to support everyone just because I don't have kids. Stephen jumped in then, still sitting but with that annoying smirk of his that drives me up the wall. Come on, Sam, don't get dramatic. You've always been the one helping Mom. It's your role. We can't. I'm saving up with Emily for the future. My role, I repeated, staring him down. I've been paying for everything for 5 years, Stephen. How much have you chipped in? $1? 50 cents? Because I know exactly how much. Nothing. My mom cut in, yelling again. Enough, Sam. I won't let you talk to me like this or attack your brothers. You're selfish, just like your father. I always knew you'd end up betraying me. That hurt, I won't lie. Comparing me to my dad, the guy who bailed when I was 4, was like a punch to the gut. But I didn't shut up. If I'm like Dad, then you're the one who got with Richard for his money and scared him off when he figured it out. Who betrayed who first, Mom? Another silence hit, but this one was different. My mom stood still, like I'd struck a nerve. Michael and Stephen glanced at each other again, and Sarah muttered something like, "This is getting out of hand." Emily just looked down, uncomfortable. Michael's kids started crying, and he got up to calm them, but not before shooting me a look like he wanted to strangle me. What's wrong with you, Sam? Michael said, holding one of the kids. You've always been weird, but this is too much. You can't just cut Mom off like that. Why not? I replied. If I'm such a failure, like she says, then she doesn't need my money. Let you 2 step up for once. My mom let out a choked scream, like I'd stabbed her. You're a monster. You've got no heart. I never should have expected anything from you. That was all I could take. I grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair and said, Merry Christmas, I guess. I'll see you when you stop treating me like your cash machine. And I left. I walked out the door, hearing my mom yell something else and Michael telling Stephen to stop me, but I didn't look back. After leaving my mom's house that night, I went straight to my apartment and turned off my phone. I didn't want to hear from anyone. I spent December 26th chilling, watching bad movies, and eating leftover pizza from the fridge. But deep down, I knew the clock was ticking. My mom's bills, electricity, water, gas, internet, rent, were due between the 30th and January 5th, depending on each one, and I wasn't going to pay a single cent. I canceled all the automatic payments from my bank that same morning, so it was done. She'd have to face it alone. On December 27th, my mom started calling. First came texts. Sam, please, let's talk. You can't do this to me. I'm your mother. Then the calls. I didn't answer any, but on the 28th, she left a voicemail I ended up listening to more out of curiosity than anything. She was crying, and her voice sounded different, weaker. Sam, son, I'm sorry, okay? I shouldn't have said that at Christmas. I was mad, but I don't mean it. Please don't leave me like this. I can't pay the bills. The rent's due soon, and if I don't pay, they'll kick me out. I'm begging you. Help me this time, and I swear I won't ask again. Hearing her beg like that stirred something in me, I won't lie. For a second, I thought about giving in, sending some money for the rent, and calling it a day. But then I remembered everything. All the time she called me a failure, my brother's laughter, the years I bled myself, tried to keep her afloat while they did nothing. And I told myself, no, this has to stop. So I didn't reply. I blocked her number and stood firm that I figured my brothers would step up. Michael's got his auto shop, and Stephen does graphic design gigs. They're not rich, but together they could scrape something together, right? Wrong. On the 30th, my mom texted me from an unknown number. What she wrote gave me chills. Sam, your brothers betrayed me. I begged them for help, and they left me hanging. Michael said he's got nothing, that the kids eat up everything. Stephen won't even answer me. I'm alone, son. If you don't help, I'll be on the street. I'm pleading, don't let me die like this. I felt guilty about what was happening, but I didn't do anything. That was my revenge after she called me a failure. What blew my mind most were my brother's Instagram stories. They were on vacation at the beach while their mom was begging for a place to live and something to eat. I couldn't believe it, but that's who they were. Selfish. And me, all these years giving up my savings so my mom could live well, only for her to mock me in front of everyone. She had it coming that I didn't hear from her again until January 7th, when Michael called me from his number. I ignored the first 2 calls, but on the third, I picked up because something told me it was serious. "Sam," he said, his voice low and sharp, "Mom's in a homeless shelter." "What?" I said, my mouth dry as sand. "Yeah, they found her sleeping in an alley on the 6th, half frozen. The cops took her to a shelter. I went to see her today, and she's a wreck. She looks like a living corpse. She screamed that it's all your fault, that you condemned her to this. She won't stop cursing you." I froze, the phone glued to my ear. My mom in a homeless shelter, sleeping on a filthy cot, surrounded by strangers, her pride in pieces but her resentment stronger than ever. I thought it was what she deserved after calling me a failure, knowing I'd been supporting her all this time. "I tried to bring her food," Michael went on, "but she smashed it against the wall and said she didn't want anything from us, that we betrayed her. How could you let her fall like this, Sam?" That lit me up. How could I? I yelled, feeling my blood boil. "You and Stephen left her high and dry. She begged you for help, and you both ignored her. I was the one keeping her afloat for years, and you're blaming me?" "We couldn't." Michael cut me off, raising his voice. "I've got 2 kids, a shop that barely covers food. Stephen's in the same boat. We couldn't do more. You were always the one paying everything, and now you let her die over your stupid pride." "My pride?" I shot back, almost laughing from the anger. "She lived off me like a leech. She never worked, never saved, and you guys never pitched in a dime. Where were you when she was begging me for help?" "Huh, playing dumb like always." "You're a fool, Sam," he shouted. "Mom's in a shelter because of you. If she dies, I swear you'll pay for this." And he hung up. Why mom in a homeless shelter, my brothers pointing fingers at me, and me here, caught in a whirlwind of rage. So on January 8th, I made a crazy decision. I went to see her. I wanted to look her in the eyes and get everything off my chest. This is what happened, and I swear it was like walking through hell. The shelter was in a rough part of town, an old building with peeling paint and a damp smell that hit you in the face. I walked in, and a woman at the desk looked at me like I didn't belong. "I'm looking for Linda Harris," I said, and she pointed to a hallway in the back. I walked past rows of grimy cots, people muttering or staring into space. And there she was, sitting on a rickety bed, a tattered blanket over her shoulders. She looked like a ghost, dirty, tangled hair, sunken face, trembling hands. But when she saw me, her eyes lit up with a mix of surprise and pure hatred. "Sam," she said, her voice hoarse, "what are you doing here?" I stepped closer, standing in front of her, and let all the anger I'd been carrying for weeks pour out. "I came to see you, Mom," I said, with a smile that wasn't from joy. "Remember Christmas? When you said you always knew I'd be a failure, that I had no girlfriend, no friends, nothing? Well, look at you now. Who's the failure here? You're in a shelter, surrounded by trash, and I'm standing tall. Who's the useless one now?" She stayed quiet for a second, mouth open, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Then her eyes filled with tears, but they weren't from sadness. They were from rage. "Curse you, Sam," she screamed. "I thought you'd come to help me, to get me out of here, but you came to gloat. You put me here. You left me on the street. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be like this." "Because of me?" I snapped, stepping closer. "If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have lived comfortably all these years. You freeloader. I kept you like a queen while you didn't lift a finger. Electricity, water, rent, it all came out of my pocket. And how did you repay me? Calling me a failure in front of everyone. You're the deadbeat here, not me." My voice echoed through the shelter, and some of the other people turned to look, but I didn't care. My mom was shaking, her hands clenched into fists. "I hate you, Sam," she spat, her voice breaking but full of venom. "I hope you rot alone, like you left me. May you never have peace." I looked at her and smiled, but then she dropped her knees, crying for real this time, and started begging. "Forgive me, Sam. Please help me. Get me out of here. Give me a new house. I swear I'll change. I swear I won't bother you again." I looked at her there, on her knees, tears streaming down her face, and something broke inside me. But it wasn't pity. It was disgust. And suddenly, I let out a laugh, loud, harsh, that I couldn't hold back. "A new house," I said, laughing in her face. "You're out of your mind. You think after everything I'm still going to be your bank?" "Never again, Mom. Never." I pulled out my wallet, grabbed a crumpled dollar I had, and tossed it on the ground in front of her. "Here," I said, still laughing. "Buy something nice with that. It's the last you'll ever get from me." She looked up, eyes red and full of hate, and screamed something I couldn't make out, a wail that followed me as I turned and walked out of the shelter. I hit the street with my heart pounding a mile a minute, but I didn't feel bad. I felt alive. For the first time in years, there was no weight on my shoulders. My mom could curse me all she wanted. She could beg until she lost her voice, but she wasn't my problem anymore. I went back to my apartment, cracked open a beer, and put on a movie on my new TV like nothing had happened. But I know this isn't over. Michael threatened me, Steven's still MIA, and my mom's not the type to give up, even in a shelter. Something tells me they'll come for me again, and I don't know if it'll be with words or something worse. Was I too harsh laughing in her face? Or did she have it coming after everything? Update 1. Hey everyone. Thanks for your supportive comments. It seems like a lot of you related to my story, dealing with family that treats you poorly and puts you down like that. My advice is to distance yourself from toxic families. There's nothing better than peace of mind. Anyway, here's the update. It's been 2 months since I shared my story, and I didn't hear anything from Mom for a long time until a few days ago. I found out she got a job as a cleaner for a wealthy family out in the suburbs. She earns peanuts, something like $10 a day, and uses it to pay for a room in a rundown motel that costs $3 a night. It's one of those places in a sketchy neighborhood, full of noise, drugs, and fights. The rest of the money, I guess, goes to eating scraps or whatever she can buy cheap. In the end, she had to work to support herself, something I never thought I'd see. I picture my mom, 58 years old, hands cracked from mopping, sleeping in a rotten bed with dirty sheets, hearing sirens and shouts outside. Part of me felt a cold satisfaction. After everything she did to me, using me as her ATM, and then cursing me when I stopped giving, she's facing reality now. But another part, a tiny one, wondered how she fell so low. Not enough to help her, of course. That ship sailed a long time, 8GO.AS for my brothers, Michael and Steven. They're each doing their own thing, like none of this affects them. Michael's still running his auto shop with Sarah and their 2 loud kids. I heard he had the nerve to buy a new truck last month while Mom was sleeping on the street. Steven, meanwhile, is still with Emily, his perfect girlfriend, and it looks like they finally bought that house they wanted. I kept seeing their Instagram stories, flaunting unnecessary luxuries instead of helping Mom. They washed their hands of it and moved on, like always. And that's the lesson this whole thing taught me. You can't count on anyone. Not my mom, who drained me dry, mocked me, and then cursed me when I stopped giving. Not my brothers, who talk about family but vanish when it's time to act. In the end, everyone's alone in this world, fighting for their own. My mom had to learn it the hard way, scrubbing floors to avoid starving. Michael and Steven have always known it, hiding behind their perfect lives. I'm doing okay now, or trying to. My paycheck's finally mine. I paid off some debts, fixed up my apartment a bit, and I'm saving for a short trip, maybe to the beach, to clear this madness from my head. I haven't heard more from my mom, and my brothers aren't reaching out. But sometimes when I'm alone at night, I think of her in that motel, in that neighborhood where a scream might be the last thing you hear. I don't feel guilt, but there's something scratching at my chest. Maybe it's that, deep down, we all lost something in this mess.
Subscribe for more daily stories.